Good morning, everyone. Daniel Silva, President and CEO of the KCK Chamber, here with our first event of the year. We're very excited to host a newly appointed Kansas Lieutenant Governor, David Toland. As you know, he's also the Secretary of Commerce, so very excited to have him. Just want to share a few remarks. We're really excited about this coming year. We are hopeful to be exiting this pandemic, in a few months. We are planning and crossing our fingers to have in-person events beginning in the third quarter. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, know that we're going to be hosting events, Q1 and Q2 virtually. Again, want to give a special thanks and shout out to all of our sponsors. And we remain very proud and excited about all the programming that the Women's Chamber Network is going to roll out this year. I think they've got between 12 and 16 events scheduled for the year. So very excited about what's to come just under this division alone. And again, we are supported, with great corporate support, partner support, and you'll see the sponsors here listed. I'll go ahead and read them off really quickly. BNSF, Design Mechanical, Tico Productions, KU Medical Center, Kansas Gas, Amazon, Greater Kansas City Building and Construction Trades, Bank of America, Trans Systems, and our newest sponsor for the Women's Chamber Network, Snap IT Solutions. And Lieutenant Governor, I think Nalim was actually in some of your slide presentations, so looking forward to seeing her face as well. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Harding, who is the president of the Wyandotte Health Foundation and also the chair of the Women's Chamber Network. Kathy?
Yes, hello everybody and welcome. The Women's Chamber Network, Daniel provided a great overview. Just as a reminder for those of you who may be new to it, the Women's Chamber of Commerce, Kansas City, Kansas Women's Chamber of Commerce was formed 100 years ago plus now. Last year, the board of directors decided to dissolve that corporation and instead collaborate with the KCK Chamber of Commerce to establish a new Women's Chamber Network division specifically aimed at programming and events for women at all levels of business. So with the programs, there will be a variety of programs throughout the year we're excited about. Big shout out to Kathy Honor from United Way, who has done a great job with her and the committee. Some of you are on in really putting together programs scheduled for the coming year. But we'll have, as Daniel said, 12 to 16 programs per year. 4 of those will be specifically designed for executive level women and business owners. And so check the website. The KCK Chamber website has a special page for the Women's Chamber Network. Please check that periodically to see what's coming up. We have a couple of great programs coming up in the next couple of months, and that will be updated regularly. So we're excited to start out the new year with an excellent program. And I looked at you said to call you David, so I will. But I looked at your bio and I thought I've got to abbreviate this because it will take up the entire program. And I tried, and I've not done a very good job because there's too many important things that I didn't want to leave out. But as Daniel just said, David Toland is the new Lieutenant Governor for the state of Kansas. And in fact, you were just sworn in, I believe, on Monday.
That's right, 48 hours ago.
And has served as a secretary of the Department of Commerce since January of 2019. How you are going to do 2 jobs, I do not know. I can barely do 1. So it's incredible to learn that you'll be able to do 2 very important jobs, and I know you'll do them well. But just a couple of highlights. As a Secretary of Commerce, he oversaw some really sweeping changes within the department. And those included rebuilding its in-state, domestic, and international business recruitment teams, which is a huge thing, a network of people who are working in that area. He launched the state's Office of Broadband Development, reestablished a community development division and the Kansas Main Street program, and launched the state's first new economic development strategic planning process since 1986. In addition to all that, he's worked very closely with the governor in her efforts to support Kansas' economic recovery from COVID-19 pandemic, and was a leader in the negotiations. You all know the border war between Missouri and Kansas was a decade long in terms of incentives for business recruitment, and he negotiated on that, and that resulted in over $2.5 billion in new capital investment in Kansas in 2020. And that was an increase of over 80% from the previous year and the highest in state history. So that's impressive. Prior to his tenure at Commerce, he was the CEO of an organization called Thrive Allen County, which is in Iola. And he is a 7th-generation Allen Countyan. And that nonprofit works to improve quality of life and economic conditions. And prior to that, he was in Washington, D.C. for a while, and he was an appointee of D.C. Mayor Anthony Williams, held key leadership positions in the D.C. Economic Development and Planning offices. So again, I tried to abbreviate this, but this is such an impressive resume that I didn't want to leave these things out. So I hope I didn't take too much time, Lieutenant Governor, but at this point, I will turn it over to you for the program. So thank you for being here.
Oh, Kathy, thank you so much. And it's great to see you as well. We've been working together for a better part of a decade, I think, at this point. So thanks for such a gracious introduction. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'm really grateful to have a conversation. And if we could go to the next slide, please. Let's jump right in. I realized we left out an important word, which is KCK Women's Chamber Network here. So sorry about that, but let me give you just kind of a quick overview of what I'd like to talk about here. And my goal would be that we have a lot of dialogue at the end. If, I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you have, but I'd like to have this be a learning experience for me as much as possible about the trends that those folks who are on the call today are seeing and concerns, and just kind of take your temperature on where things stand. So I'm going to give you an overview of what's going on at the Department of Commerce. We talk a little bit about Wyandotte County specifically. Going to talk about the Office of Minority and Women Business Development, which is at the Department of Commerce. And I want to give you an overview of what our deal flow looks like. What are the business opportunities that we are seeing at the Department of Commerce? Because I think the more you can understand that and have that context, the better all of you will be in preparing to take advantage of the good things that are happening in the state. And then we'll have Q&A. So next slide, please. So as Kathy mentioned, let's go back. Yeah, there we go. So as Kathy mentioned, we have done a fundamental rethinking of how we do economic development at the state level here. This is at the direction of Governor Kelly, who came in and said, look, we've seen the Department of Commerce basically decimated over the last decade. And what she asked is not that we rebuild it, but rather we rethink how we do economic development. We rethink what our goals are and how we achieve those goals, and we do it smarter, and that we do it more efficiently, and that we're intentional about our efforts. And so there are really three legs to the stool at the Department of Commerce. Workforce development, which is simply about making sure that we connect people who are seeking employment with employers who are hiring, and vice versa. We've got community development, which is a newly established division, which is really about ensuring that we're addressing quality of life conditions across the state. The governor believes, and I believe, that quality of life is central to economic development. You think about any business, they're going to look, yes, at tax rates, they're going to look at available workforce, they're going to look at location and all of that. At the end of the day, people live in communities, and they make decisions about where they're going to live based on what amenities are there, how the quality of life is. And so it's very important that we have Kansas communities which are livable, which provide the amenities that families and businesses are looking for, and that we make the case for all.
Off.
Okay, sorry, I think I got muted there. So the point is with community development, we want to focus on quality of life and do that in communities, urban, rural, and suburban. And then last is business development. So this is what we are traditionally known for at the Department of Commerce. This is about going out and recruiting new business into the state, and it's about working with existing businesses to help them grow and to grow in Kansas. In the past, we've done a really good job of helping businesses grow, and then they get to a certain point and they leave the state. That has to stop, and we are focused on making sure that we've got the right conditions here so that businesses don't want to leave the state or have to leave the state, that they can continue to grow and be successful here. It's those homegrown success stories that really create new wealth and get the Kansas economy supercharged. So next slide, please. So looking back at the year 2020, so as everybody knows, it was a rough year on just about every front. And I feel a little awkward when I talk about the good news that happened in 2020, but from the Department of Commerce, there was a lot of good news. So as Kathy mentioned, we did a record-setting level of new capital investment in the state in 2020. $2.5 billion was invested by businesses in Kansas in that 12-month period. In spite of COVID, in spite of a global recession, in spite of all the uncertainty. So what you can see here is kind of the breakdown of the types of economic development projects that we saw. So that 2.5 billion is represented here. Manufacturing is a big part, it is the largest single part of this success. But you can see as well, logistics and distribution, very important here, and particularly in Wyandotte County, which saw Urban Outfitters, which is a $400 million investment that's under construction now. We've got new investment by Amazon, as well as some smaller investments that are coming, all in the logistics and distribution space, but manufacturing as well. And if you look at Wyandotte County itself, so it had the third highest level of new capital investment in a single year in 2020. And when you consider that you didn't see large capital investments by KU or there's no GM or anything like that last year, that is a sign of an economy that is headed in the right direction and a county that's headed in the right direction. There are some real positives coming out of Wyandotte in 2020, and there's more to come in 2021. So let's look at that slide next, please. So this slide shows our deal pipeline. So at the moment, we have 353 different economic development projects that we are competing for. So another way to describe this might be leads. And just to put 353 projects in perspective, when I took over as secretary, we had 140 in our pipeline. So we're at 353 now. And you can see again the breakdown of what types of projects we're working on. And you can see it runs the gamut, but particularly around manufacturing. I think we're also going to see, though, as aerospace starts to come back later this year and into 2022, there's going to be a lot of opportunities there, particularly in the South Central Kansas economy. But what happens there does have an impact in the Kansas City region. And, we do have aviation-related companies that are part of the supply chain for Spirit, part of the supply chain for Textron, which are in the Kansas City metro. And so I think there are good things coming there. And again, on logistics and distribution, because of our geography and because of, land prices, because of the nature of our workforce, we are really doing well on the logistics side statewide. But I'm excited about the diversity of projects that we have right now, and professional services are starting to come back as well. And so that's really good news as we look into 2021. Next slide. So, the key for us is we're finding those sectors where the investment is happening, and we are laser focused on making sure that we're seizing the opportunities that have been created by these companies. And they're in those areas that you see listed. So one part I haven't talked about much is around food processing. So last year, the single largest economic development project in the state is a $600 million investment by Schwann's out in Salina. And that's a pizza factory for Tony's. So if you eat a Freshetta pizza or a Tony's or a Red Baron, those are probably made in Salina. So they're going to have one of the largest pizza facilities in the world in the state of Kansas as this project gets completed in 2022. So that's a big deal, and we are seeing, as COVID has impacted consumer tastes and preferences, there's just a lot more prepared foods that that companies are trying to get to the consumer as quickly as possible, and so Kansas is really well aligned there. We have a workforce that's strong in this area, and we're close to a lot of the raw products. As an ag state, you can get the materials here faster, and so it creates a lot of opportunities for us to bring new jobs and new investment into the state. Next slide, please. So I wanted to kind of talk specifically about the role of women in the Kansas economy, and both where we're strong and where I think we have some opportunities as a state to grow. So labor force participation among women in Kansas is, I think it's in the top 10, it may be in the top 5 in the nation at almost 76%. And that is very exciting, and we're proud of that. And if you look at the metro as a whole, both on both sides of the state line, the female labor force participation is the highest in Kansas, in the metro, and in Missouri as well. Next slide. So that was the good news. One of the challenges, though, we see is as a state, we have fewer women in management positions than we should. We're in the bottom half there. And what's most concerning to me is we have fewer women who own their own businesses versus other states as a percentage. These are two areas that I would like us to be working on as a state and specifically as a department. I think we've got opportunities here to build wealth, and that frankly, we've left money on the table as a state because we haven't been able to crack this nut. And I'm not quite sure, frankly, how to crack this nut, and that's why I want to have a conversation here at the end. But these are two very obvious areas where we need to be doing better as a state as a whole, and where I think we can do better if we work together. Next slide. So here at Commerce, we have the Office of Minority and Women Business Development. Hopefully some of you know Rhonda Harris, who is the phenomenal director of that office, and she just does a terrific job for us. And what they do there is certify minority and women-owned businesses so that to confirm that they are at least 51% owned and controlled by minority, women, or other disadvantaged people. This provides some advantages for those companies that are engaged specifically in contracting on DOT, on KDOT related projects because of U.S. Department of Transportation preferences for making sure that there are contracts which go to minority and women-owned businesses. But aside from KDOT, within the state of Kansas as a whole, we do not have set-asides for contracting with minority or women-owned businesses. And I think that's part of why we have the challenge that we do of having a lower percentage of businesses that are owned by women and minorities in particular compared to other states. Now, our Office of Minority and Women-Owned Business does do workshops and seminars to make sure that folks are aware of contracting opportunities that are coming out. We try to provide technical assistance, so it may be about connecting a business to the Small Business Development Center or to Network Kansas to make sure that if you need help with a business plan, you're getting ready to do an expansion, or if you need a connection to a lender, we try to make sure that we're facilitating those connections and getting you what you need. And then networking, which I think is critically important. And that's kind of what we're doing today. It's about making sure that folks know one another and that they're thinking of their peers, their professional peers, as sometimes you're competitors, sometimes you can be collaborators, and there are opportunities to lift one another up together. And so Rhonda works really hard to make sure that we are being a meaningful partner and really being helpful to small businesses and helping them grow into medium and large size businesses. Last thing I would mention is that we do regular minority and women-owned business spotlights through our social media and through our website, where we're simply trying to create some attention that hopefully can generate some new business and awareness of the opportunities that are out there to purchase goods and services from minority and women-owned businesses in our state. So that's what Rhonda and her team do, and we're really grateful for all the work that they do. Next slide. So you can kind of see within Rhonda's office, statewide, we've got 377 certified minority and women-owned businesses. What I thought was kind of cool here is that about 20% of the certified women business enterprises in the state are located in Kansas City, Kansas. So that is that should be a source of pride, and I'd like to see that number be triple what it is, and I'd like us as a department to set some goals around not only the total that we have, which are certified, but particularly from communities like Wyandotte County, where we feel like we've got strong adoption of what we're trying to do in terms of lifting up minority and women-owned business enterprises, and where we've got relationships that are strong, like we have with KCK Chamber. And so I see a lot of opportunities here, but you can see kind of the breakdown of what this looks like. Next slide. So what I wanted to touch on here, and you can see these are this is Rhonda's office and the awards that we give annually for excellence in a variety of areas to minority and women-owned businesses across the state. And it's a wonderful celebration of not only business success, but of people supporting one another and growing together. And it's really a terrific thing. But the conversation that Rhonda and I started having about a year ago is, how can we meaningfully, as a department, so right here at the Department of Commerce, what are we doing as an agency to actually support minority and women-owned businesses when we buy things? So, I've got this office within Commerce, but I don't want it to just be about certifications and technical assistance. I want Rhonda to say, hey, Secretary, who did we buy from this year when we bought paper? Who did we buy from this year when we needed a particular kind of service? And if we aren't intentional as a department about at the beginning of the year saying, okay, we're going to target X% of our discretionary dollars to go to firms, businesses, enterprises, whatever you want to call them, that are minority and women owned, then we're not actually walking the walk. And so as a department this year, as part of our budgeting process, we are going to set purchasing targets for the Department of Commerce for minority and women-owned businesses. But we're taking it a step further. So I had this conversation with the governor, and it was about, okay, you know, I'm a little embarrassed as a secretary that I didn't think about this until my second year in office, that we weren't really walking the walk. And so I think we can do better. So this is what we're going to do. And the conversation with the governor turned into, well, what if we set targets across state agencies so that every agency has to think about this when they're doing their budgeting? And so what this is all going to result in is that the Kelly administration will have a bill that will go to legislature this session, which will require state agencies to set targets for contracting with minority, women, and service-disabled businesses. It will not require that there be set-asides of any kind. It's not going to, politically, we don't think we can get that done right now. But it will require that every cabinet secretary has to come up with a plan and be intentional about thinking about these issues. We feel like this is a good start that will allow us to make some progress as a state government in making sure that startup businesses in our state, and particularly minority, women, and service-disabled businesses that are service-disabled owned businesses are getting the same shot that everybody else is. And so I'm excited about this. There'll be more information coming out that very soon, actually this month, about this bill. But we'd sure be grateful to have the support of the chamber, the Women's Chamber Network, and all of you as individual business owners as we try and get this bill through the legislature and signed into law. So it's not as ambitious as maybe we would all kind of like in our mind's eye, but it's a start. And I want to make progress, and we think this is the way to get that done. And so I'm excited that the governor supported this and that we're going to give it a real solid shot this year. Next slide. So I guess the whole point here is that I hope you see that I am sincere and the Kelly administration is sincere about trying to make sure that we are creating meaningful opportunities for women as business owners, for women as our partners, as we're working to grow the state, and that you are front of mind with me and with our leadership team and with the governor as we try to get this state economy running at a faster clip than we have in the past. We've got a lot of good things happening. I think there are a lot of opportunities going forward, but we got to make sure that we've got everybody on the bench and that we're all working together, and that particularly includes women business owners. So I'm really grateful to have been able to give you this kind of overview of where we are at Commerce, and then I would love to take questions or comments from the folks who are on the call today. So thanks for listening.
Well, thank you very much. And congratulations on such great success. What you've done with the Department of Commerce, I think, is just amazing. And Wyandotte County, you're right. You've worked really closely, I know, with Greg Kendall at Wyandotte EDC and with our chamber to make things really exciting things happen here in Wyandotte County. So thank you for that as well. I guess I'll start, but from what I understand, the Lieutenant Governor really hopes to hear from us to help him figure out some of the things that he just mentioned, which is, why are there fewer women who own businesses in Kansas? Why are there fewer women in management in Kansas? So if I understood you correctly, you would love to hear anyone's thoughts on that, because it's kind of a puzzle that you're working on perhaps and trying to figure out. So I might start, just if I could ask a question or two. And then everybody, please, these Zooms are great for some things, but it seems like when somebody says, "Now I'd like your questions and input," everybody just stares at the screen. So let's all not be shy, please, because it's we have a great opportunity here to really help inform the Lieutenant Governor's work, and I know he's sincere in asking for that. So let's help today if we could. But just a question, the first thought that came to my mind in terms of why there are fewer women in management and business owners in Kansas. Do you know if it has anything to do with educational attainment? Are women in Kansas not as highly educated, for example, as in some other states? Is there any correlation between anything like that or other causative factors that might contribute to it that you're aware of?
I don't know. I do know that we have more bachelor's degree holders as a whole in the state than we have jobs for bachelor's degree holders, which is kind of interesting. And that we see that both as cause for concern and as an opportunity, but I don't actually know what the breakdown is, male, female there.
Okay. Thank you. That is interesting. I might just throw out a question to the group if I could. Have any of you experienced any barriers in maybe trying to establish your own business or achieving a management position that you'd be willing to share, or just thoughts in general about that?
I would like to speak. My name is Samantha Ramirez, and I'm actually a new member, a part of the chamber, and I'm actually an entrepreneur. I'm 33 years old and a single mother of 3 kids. And I'm actually from Wyandotte County, and I still live in Wyandotte County. And I do remember I graduated from J.C. Harmon High School in Argentine, Kansas. And there were not a lot of resources here. There's not a lot of awareness. And I believe till this day, there still isn't in my community. So if we had someone that would advocate for these opportunities and really touch us and go door to door and kind of have some type of, some type of conversations with our community leaders to get out the information for these opportunities, that would be great. So actually now, as a 33-year-old woman, I'm having to make connections on my own and try to figure out where to start a business. And so I'm doing a lot of research, but and the KCK chamber has been great with making connections for me. So if we can, Danny Silva and all of his team have been really great. But if we can get more people out there like that can provide resources to the community, that would be great.
Samantha, thank you. If I could just ask a couple questions. So where are you in the process of starting your business?
Oh, I'm like just thoughts on a paper right now. I'm handshaking. I'm trying to figure out, talking to lenders, trying to raise funds. It's a thought of basically trying to give back to my community. I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and I got into health once I was diagnosed. And I'm still doing treatment every 3 weeks. And it just dawned on me that my community doesn't have any healthy food or drink options, grab and go options. It's nothing but gas stations and McDonald's around here. And I have 3 kids, and I'm always on the go. We're super busy and we cook at home, but it would be nice to have a healthy food or drink option around here. And We just got 2 new grocery stores in Argentine, which is Walmart and the El Mercado down here. But other than that, we just don't really have a whole lot of options. And I really care about Argentine. Like I said, I grew up here and I've been here most of my life. And that is just a goal of mine, to give back to the community. And I actually have really great friends like Danny Silva, and I have friends that are becoming doctors at KU Hospital. I have relatives that are attorneys. And so I'm trying to reach out to my resources and figure out how we can give back and change the community in a way that is important to me, which is providing healthy grab and go drink options in our area. But I was born, you know, in this area. I went to high school in this area, and I just remember looking back and thinking, wow, there was no one really that came into my high school and talked to me about dreaming big, reaching out to my opportunities. And I just kind of wish that there, and I don't know if there are those resources now. And that is what I plan to do. I actually met a lady named Chandra Green through Alive and Thrive. It's this program. She's working with the Kansas Leadership Program. And she's actually working on projects in the communities to work with people that have childhood traumas and give them resources. So it's like a domino effect, I guess you can say. But I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And you know, I think one of the challenges that I've got to make sure we're working on at Commerce is there are resources in the state. Mm-hmm. I think we've not always, though, done a good job of making sure those resources are evenly distributed.
Right.
And that people understand how to access them, or that they've even heard of them.
Yes.
Which is what I'm hearing you say. And
yes.
You know, we've got the Kansas Small Business Development Center, which can help on getting you a business plan, getting you in contact with lenders and so forth. We've got Network Kansas, which I really want to make sure is being a strong partner in urban communities. They've historically done a lot of work in rural Kansas, but I think there are huge opportunities in urban communities in our state that are untapped, and they're a great resource. What I'm pleased to hear you say is that you know, you first start with your chamber, because that's always the best. You know, using the local resources that are there, and then you know, having Daniel and his team, who are our close partners at Commerce there, you know, that's the best way to get things done. But I think from our end at Commerce, we need to do a better job of making sure that these resources, the technical assistance, is getting to where it needs to be, because there are people out there who can help.
Definitely. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts that would be helpful to the Lieutenant Governor?
I just want to share, my name is Kim Nolan. I work with Bank of Labor, and I do want to say that traditionally, I've been in banking for over 15 years, that there is a lack of outreach to minority and women-owned businesses. And that's something that we're looking to change. And just recognizing that there's a lack of kind of that education and support, I think, is a huge first step of just being able to recognize that. I am glad that, you know, you mentioned the SBA. I literally just got an email from them. How long have they been established? They just implemented a new online digital learning platform for women small business owners, and it's starting tomorrow. And so that's great that they finally implemented that, but it is sad that it has taken so long for them to do that. So I would highly recommend Samantha to, you know, I don't know anything about it. I know that they just implemented. I'm going to try to join just for my own knowledge, but I would definitely recommend looking that up and see if that can help your business get off the ground and scale.
Definitely. I actually just contacted them, and I didn't know about them, and I don't remember exactly how I found out about them, but it wasn't something that was easy that I was like, oh yeah, that's who I can contact. I found out through them through another source. I don't remember at this time, but thank you for that recommendation. And they do seem very helpful. I got a very good email from them with lots of resources.
Amanda, you've been trying to jump in for a while, I think.
Good morning to all. Thanks for having me. Daniel, thanks for the invitation as well. Great information. My name is Amanda Villarreal, and I am the co-founder of Plex Capital. We are an alternative finance company that offers accounts receivable financing throughout the United States. And what I would say is I am too a single mom of a 17-year-old and a 7-year-old. I climbed corporate America at a very young age and had a very successful career that ended in 2019. And that's when I decided to co-found Plex Capital. Daniel knows a lot about the story of my company. And what I can tell you is coming to this country as an immigrant child and being able to, I guess, overcome a lot of the barriers that culturally we've had. I would say that we are missing role models. I think I'm huge on mentorship, and it's just that daring of making sure that women, minority people, they can go and dream big. And so my biggest message to all as I speak to anyone is go dream big. And if you really have that passion to go and do what you believe in, you'll find ways. And so I think the biggest obstacle for women to climb corporate America or to own their own business is just culturally a belief that they can't. No one has told them they can go and dream big. And so from my perspective, I've been extremely blessed, and I have an amazing life, but I've been seeking that life. And so no one has come to me and said, Amanda, go dream big. And so from my perspective, in my opinion, we need more role models. We need to be a bigger force that unites and goes to those high school little girls and say, hey, you can dream big, and let me tell you why. But it is something that is ingrained culturally speaking, in my opinion.
Amanda, thank you for your comment. And if I may, all of you are the role models. You may not feel like that, but you are the examples that the younger people behind us are looking up to. And so I think, you know, there's an opportunity and a responsibility here to be ambassadors for what's possible. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's not, it's maybe more responsibility than opportunity, frankly. And I know it's hard when you're trying to run a business and, you know, make payroll, and you got kids and you got all sorts of things going on. But I think the rewards that come from lifting up that next generation are profound. But it's about being an ambassador for what's possible.
No, absolutely. I'm in agreement with you. I think that it's a way of honoring those that have come before us and those that will come after us. And it is a huge responsibility. So currently, I live in Johnson County, and I've lived in Johnson County since I moved to Kansas City. And what I will tell you is that I do a lot of work with specifically in Wyandotte, including being a member of the Leawood Rotary Club. We do mentorship at Bishop Ward, and we're really involved in a lot of different organizations. We support El Centro as well, hiring. And so it is something that it is a huge responsibility, but it's going to take a massive number of women to go out there and start, you know, teaching women or young ladies to dream big. But it is a challenge, and we'll overcome it, but it's just those conversations we must have.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I jump in? I actually want to piggyback on that. The story is incredible when you look at immigrants into the state of Kansas, and often not understand resources that exist, but doing it because of, as Amanda said, we stand on the shoulders of giants. It's just within our nature and culture. Entrepreneurship is not a new idea or an idea. It's a way of life, a quality of life, and a way are part of a country that there's a dream and an opportunity. So we see that a lot and could learn so much from, just immigrants' abilities to come in and do the work, right? So I am very, I just love your thoughts on what I guess the state is doing in regard of thinking about being more intentional when it comes to vendors and really taking a look at that. I want to go back to equity when it comes to race, because that's where our country is right now. When it comes to people of color and businesses, we're lumped with women, and I'm all for women. I love women and women of color. I'm in all of that umbrella, right? I want us to think, and I love that you threw it back on us, because I want us, as we think about our vendors and being more intentional with El Centro, it has always been kind of, women, people of color, and we have to be more like that. How intentional will you be in making those, or being, looking at those, of separating women-owned, people of color owned, and disability-owned, or will they be lumped as a group? Because I think, in this time of equity, I'm not, I'm real concerned with the people of color and the lack of resources, and often secondary. And just wonder where that thought is in moving forward with that.
It's a great question, Irene, and I wish I had a better answer than I'm going to give, but kind of the political reality for us in trying to start to make some progress here is that we are, in the bill, we lump together minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. If I could design this outside of a political context, I would do it differently. And I hear and I feel very much everything that you said about equity, to the extent that I can as a white male with a lot of privilege. And so I wish that the political reality were different than it is. I'm concerned about whether we can even get this bill through, to be frank about it. What I'm trying to do, though, is start a process, a long-term process of making progress every year. And Bridget Job is on the line, and we've talked a lot about tourism, just as an example here, and how Kansas is ranked in the bottom 5 states in the nation in funding for tourism. And you think about the number of hospitality-related businesses that are women-owned, in particular, minority-owned. It's substantial. Well, we could support those businesses a lot better if we could promote Kansas as a great place to visit with more money. We just don't have the budget that we need. And so in talking with Bridget and other tourism folks, they say, well, how are we going to fix this? And I'm like, well, we aren't going to fix it overnight, but we're going to chip away at it year by year and try to make it a little better next year and a little better than that, and keep going. So that's how I'm viewing our approach here. Unfortunately, it's more incremental change. I'd like to have dramatic change, but I'd rather have incremental change than no change. And I think that just kind of the political reality of the legislature.
Yeah, we're coming into one of the most conservative, so I understand what you're dealing with. I have always appreciated the governor's office and with you now coming in. I mean, we appreciate having that support. It's going to be up to us as we move forward to help support that. So we look forward to you in the governor's office, and thank you for everything you're doing in the state office of commerce. So
thanks, Irene.
I think we have time for one more brief comment or question. We want to make sure the Lieutenant Governor gets out on time. If anybody has one final thought or question.
I had a quick question if it's, oh, sorry, Melissa.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, my name is Laura Wagner. I'm the Executive Director of MoCan-Lesset with the Construction Laborers Union. And I know the Wyandotte County EDC has put a priority on childcare, which I think impacts all of us, and trying to bring in new businesses that will support and promote childcare. And the new facility that they just brought in is going to have an on-site daycare. And I didn't know if that was something you were looking at when you were doing economic development going forward.
I'm so glad you asked that. And Melissa, we will get to your question also. The reason there's going to be on-site childcare at Urban Outfitters, it may not be in that building, but in that neighborhood, in that area, is that when the head of Urban Outfitters and Governor Kelly and I sat down, they talked about how they see business and economic development as ways to change people's lives and to improve communities. And Governor is the education governor, and she said, what are you going to do on childcare? And making a long story short, we put $1 million of incentives into the package with Urban Outfitters to make sure that there will be childcare for their workers and other workers that are in the Village West area. And so that is where we have very much, both talk the talk and walk the walk, where there is cold hard cash that went toward childcare. But I take it one step further and add that we also included money, I think $500,000, to improve bus service, so that we are getting people who may have lived in generational poverty, but who are going to have opportunities to get out of that with $17 an hour starting wages at Urban Outfitters. We want to make sure that they can get from, if they're east of 635, they can get out there to Urban Outfitters and they can drop their kids off on the way at childcare and then get back in a reasonable period of time. And so we tried to be really thoughtful about doing economic development differently, and not just, doing tax credits and doing these other things, but actually putting the money where we think it needs to be in terms of lifting people up. So thank you for the question. And Melissa, let's do yours if you've still got it.
Mine's brief. I have my own woman-owned business here in Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County. Been down here in Fairfax for almost 30 years. And I do have to say, I got certified with my WBE and I think something else, DBE or something, but I haven't really been able to take advantage of that. And it's not because Rhonda Harris, that whole group is great. I mean, it doesn't seem like some big organization. If I need a question real quick or something for my certification, they are super prompt and really, really great to work with. So I wanted to just say that and so, and pass it on. I really appreciate their help. I just don't know how to, like you said, it would be really helpful to have more leverage or something as a WBE to get some more business from the vendors.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's why we're doing this, why we're introducing this legislation that would require that each agency think intentionally and set their own targets on contracting with minority women and service disabled veteran owned businesses. So, because it is not, we don't have any set aside. So it ultimately winds up being about networking opportunities, which is great, and technical assistance, which is great. But at the end of the day, you need income, you need revenue, you need the business opportunities. So we get that. And so that's why we're going to try and get this legislation through the legislature this session.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Could I take maybe just 20 quick seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm Tammy Bartunik. I'm with KCC at the Community College here in Wyandotte. And if I could just respond to a couple things very briefly, and if anyone has follow-up, please call me directly. But quickly, the daycare issue, we have a fantastic daycare on our campus of, open to our students, our employees, as well as our community members. And I know they have openings. We do not own the daycare, but it is on our property. So if you want to be connected with that, please feel free to give me a call. Or it's called Little Leaders. I'll just give them a little plug. They're fantastic. So they are a very high quality daycare center right here in Wyandotte County, and they do have openings. And then going back a few minutes ago to the mentoring conversation, we have talked about that, Kathy, during our Women's Network planning. And it comes up in different formats, I feel. So I'm really was happy to hear the comments today. I think that may kind of push us into a particular direction with that. And then as well at the community college, we are looking at mentoring specifically with our students in a new way as well. So I'm hoping that within this next year, you'll see the community college roll out kind of a new mentoring program. And I might be tapping on your shoulders, just FYI, to become maybe part of whatever that new program looks like. So thanks for the few seconds. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed listening to this conversation today. Thanks for all of your work.
Well, Tammy, just as an FYI, we have a Women's Chamber Network Advisory Committee meeting this morning, and I jotted down to add to the agenda a conversation about the mentoring discussion that we just had today. So we are thinking alike. We are beyond out of time, and please help me thank Lieutenant Governor Toland for his time today, and really a thought-provoking conversation. It was excellent. Some things that we have now to go back and really consider and think through and see how we can play a role in some of the challenges that exist for women in business.
Hey, so Kathy, if I could real quick, yes. Sorry to interrupt. If I could, if everybody would take down my email address, it's david.toland, T as in Tom, OLAND, at ks.gov. And Daniel can send it out in case you didn't get that. If you would think about, this question of, what are the barriers that have prevented there being more women-owned businesses in the state of Kansas versus other states? If you're just driving home tonight or eating breakfast and you think, hey, I remember this was really hard when I was starting my business, this really frustrated me. I would appreciate if you would just send me an email and say, this is what my experience was, or here's my idea, or here's what I think needs to be fixed. That would help me. So, we could probably have a 10-hour conversation about all this, but in lieu of that, next best thing is send me an email, and I'd be grateful for that. So thanks so much, everybody, for having me on. Daniel, Kathy, I really appreciate the invitation, and look forward to staying in touch with all of you. So thanks very much.
Absolutely, and thank you again. And I'll let you all go, but mark your calendars now for the next Women's Chamber Network program, which will be on February 9th at noon. And it's, believe it or not, Providence Medical Center's Dr., and I won't pronounce this well, Prashant Katrapati. He's an interventional cardiology specialist in cardiovascular disease. February is Women's Heart Month, and heart disease is one of the leading causes of death of women. If you have not heard Dr. Katrapati before, you don't want to miss him. We've had him as a program with the Women's Chamber of Commerce before, and you think a cardiologist would be boring and dull. He is not that at all. So mark your calendars, February 9th at noon, and you can see more information. You'll get information about registering for that. So I hope to see you all then. And thank you for joining today and have a wonderful afternoon.